got blanket, Gilmore Girls in the background. Let's talk about living in small towns. Okay, hear me out. All the cool people that you follow on the internet are probably living in cool big cities, and since America is currently the center of the Western world, they're probably in New York or LA, which creates this illusion of how everyone that's successful or interesting is in New York or LA. When I graduated high school, I moved to New York for 3 months. And I had lived my whole life in a small town in Portugal. And so I never in a million years thought I would live here in my 20s because I thought there were no cool people to meet here. I already knew everyone that was my age, no cool restaurants to try, nothing really was going on artistically, culturally. Fast forward a couple years, and here I am living in that same exact small town, and I found my dream job here. I do work remote. I don't work at a company in the town, but I do edit videos and do YouTube, and I edit videos for some of my favorite YouTubers ever, and I have my own fashion YouTube channel. That also makes money. And I've met 2 really close friends. Will I admit that majority of the rest of my big, strongest friendships live in New York or are in the capital of Portugal? Yes. But it's also because I've spent a long time in New York, so it's normal that I met really cool people there, and it's normal that a lot of people from my small town wanted to go to the capital. Oh, also, I want to get ready while I'm filming this video. I know this glass is really pretty, but I love multitasking, and I want to go watch more Gilmore Girls once I finish recording this. So there's 2 things that you cannot deny about big cities and that are great about it. Number 1 being that the most ambitious people are usually in big towns. And number 2, that there are a lot more cool opportunities in big cities because they're bigger, there's more things happening, they're famous, it makes sense. But being in New York for 3 months, I realized a couple things that I didn't want to compromise. Top 2 things that influenced my decision the most were, number 1 being quality of life, and I'm gonna expand on what quality of life means to me. And number 2, I really, and I know I'm very privileged that I didn't have to do it, but I really freaking didn't want to share an apartment with people. I didn't want to have to be living in a crappy small apartment in a maybe unsafe part of town with roommates to be able to afford living in New York or in big cities. Really, and I know this is different for everyone. I have friends that thrive living with roommates because if they were living alone, they'd feel very lonely and they like sharing the chores and everything. But the thought of waking up with someone else's dishes in my sink that they didn't wash, or the thought of like having people over that I don't know, I just really, really, really appreciate living alone. Like, unless it's with a significant other, I really do not want to share my apartment. And I also want to have enough, like, I think it's crazy that nowadays the cost of living is so high that having your own place, your own home, I'm not even saying buying it, but renting it, it's not an option. But I also think it's because people have romanticized these big cities so much that they don't realize that they could get that in other places. It's just that they're chose to be living in the most expensive place they could. What I notice whenever I'm in New York is that there's so many things to do, but the people that, like my friends and the people that are actually like fighting for their dream job and that are very ambitious and cool and driven and are doing very nice, cool, fun things, they don't really have a big life outside of that. Like maybe once every 2 to 4 weeks, I'll be able to schedule something with them. But most of the times they're either too busy or our schedules don't match or they're too tired. And so chances are all of those cool things that are happening in the cities, they get to enjoy maybe 0.0001% because there's no time, because that's the cost of living in big cities is you have to grind, but that means that you don't really have a lot of free time. And this is coming from someone that did not know the concept of not working until maybe 6 to 8 months ago. I would not have weekends. I didn't have an hour in which I stopped working. I would work basically until I went to bed. I would only be social if I had actual plans. I've been living in this apartment for like 3 years. The first time I sat on my couch to watch a movie or TV by myself was this year. I had never relaxed at my own house. Okay, so I'm not here speaking from a I'm better than you place, because I am definitely not better than anyone. I'm just saying that I noticed that whenever I want to make plans with friends in New York, they're always busy. Also, I know no one talks about this, and who knows if it even affects your health that much, but the quality of air in New York, oh my God, I didn't know how bad it was until I saw this study. And I do feel a big difference once I get out of the plane and I get to Portugal and I'm like, oh my God, I can breathe now. But I never actually had thought about how that was an actual. And even with my friends that are in Lisbon, I just noticed that whenever I'm in Lisbon, I kind of enjoy the city more because I know I'm there and I'm only there for a couple of days, so I make a lot of plans, I see what's going on in the city. And when we live somewhere, we kind of stop being a tourist in our own town, and we kind of stop looking for all the cool things that are happening and searching for new places. We create a routine, and so we start going to the same takeout restaurants. We don't really go out to a play or a concert unless some friends tell us about it. So it's almost like when you're living somewhere, it's very hard to enjoy the city to its fullest because it's very different when you're a tourist somewhere than from when you're living in it. I myself sometimes am completely ignorant of all the cool, fun stuff that is happening in my area. So I look at people that are, living in these cool places, and they probably go out to do very cool original things once a month, twice a month, which is the same frequency in which I'm doing things. The difference is maybe they're watching a very big artist play or a very famous thing, and maybe I'm going to more like underground events or smaller events because, Harry Styles is not going to come to my town. Also, if I had the money to have the house I have here in New York or in Lisbon, I would consider. I would truly heavily consider moving there. So I'm not saying I'm not hating on the cities. It is also a monetary question. But I also think that people have created this romanticized, idealized thing about capital cities, where they're like, it would be a nightmare to go back to your small town. But they're having the same exact lifestyle I do. And because they're in a big town, competition is even harder. So getting jobs in your area, there's more jobs, but maybe they even pay less because there's more competition. So they don't need to pay a lot because if someone doesn't want the job, someone else will take the job. There's so many people that are literally doing unpaid internships and they have a bachelor degree or a master's, which means I get it, but it's so revolting. And I also get that if I didn't work freelance, if I didn't work remote, and I was looking for a job in my area, in the arts, in the media, in a smaller town, it would be a lot harder for me to get a job. So I do admit that I'm very privileged and lucky that I love doing freelance. I would rather freelance than work at a company. Sometimes I'm like, oh, am I missing on the corporate lifestyle? Should I be working at a company? Maybe one day I'll want to experience that. But for now, I freaking love freelancing. I want to trade for the world. And so I know that also is a reason why I'm able to live here, because I'm able to not be dependent on the opportunities geographically where I am. I won't deny that actors should be in LA. I won't deny that tech people should probably be in San Francisco because they're doing in-location jobs and there are destinations where there's just a lot more opportunities. But most of us don't want to be actors, and most of us are not doing things that are dependent on very specific places. So let's talk about quality of life. This is something I don't think majority of people think about in their 20s, because if we were thinking about quality of life, we wouldn't be getting drunk and we wouldn't be pulling all-nighters, and I don't think 20s are the age where most people are thinking about quality of life. Most people are just thinking about having fun, living day by day, and that's fine. But when I started thinking about this video, I was like, what the hell is even quality of life? Because I don't think it's a formula. I think it's very personal to everyone. So I was curious to be like, okay, if I ask ChatGPT to help me find the definition of quality of life, is the place I'm living in the one that actually gives me more quality of life, or am I fooling myself? And I actually should be in a big city. ChatGPT says that quality of life refers to an individual's overall well-being and encompassing various aspects of life that contribute to your happiness, satisfaction, and fulfillment. So here are a few bullet points that describe what quality of life actually is. Number 1, how often you can see your loved ones and how close they are to you. Number 2, what apartment and home you can afford. Next, how close to nature you are or to things and activities that can relax you. Number 3, how much you're able to achieve work-life balance. Economic stability, which also ties into the apartment, rent, utility stuff. Safety. Comforts. And when it comes to comforts, I have to say that there are a lot of little things that I don't have living in a small town, which aren't the big comforts, but they're like tiny things that if I could change that about this town, I would. Like, for instances, there's no Shake Shack, there's no Sweet Greens. I know this is super silly, but it's like an example. Next, weather, personal growth, and learning. So this is like how much you feel like you can challenge yourself and learn and do activities that push you. Excuse me. And yeah, that's basically it. So from these things, safety, weather, how close to nature and things that relax me I am, economic stability, how close I am to my loved ones. All of those I feel like I rank very high. Like I have that where I'm living. Now the things that I don't have where I'm living is, or that I'm not even saying I couldn't have, but I definitely feel like they're lacking in my life right now. Something that I feel like at this current stage of my life is missing is deep relationships. People who I connect on a very strong level, that I can be very vulnerable with and have very profound conversations. When we grow up, we start to realize that certain friendships are for certain occasions, and different friends bring you different things. It doesn't mean that I don't love my friends, but different friends are better for different things. So that's something that I feel like goes into the category of personal growth and learning and challenging myself. I have been a lot more active the past months with my partner and finding out about, live outdoor cinemas and plays and stand-up shows and all these things that I didn't know existed where I lived before. So I think I'm a lot better at like the cultural social aspect, but I also think that's something that maybe if I live in a bigger town would be easier. I think overall, I just feel like when we kind of decide where we want to live, which is usually at 18 when we go to college, we are usually like, there's no way that I'm going to stay in my hometown. Like, are you kidding? I'm not even going to apply to schools here. Like, this sucks. And I was 100% that person. I was like, I am never going to stay here. Sometimes I'm still like, I want to go and try to live in Paris for 3 months. But again, it's like, I want to try and live in a big city. That sounds interesting for a couple months, but I don't think I want to live there forever because it's just not worth the hustle, the quality of life, the money, the everything. Like, maybe if I would have been born in a big city and my family was there, I would stay in a big city. Like, I also stay here because my loved ones are here and I've realized how important they are in my life and how much I care for them. But honestly, I feel so lucky that my parents, when they had me and my sister, they really thought about where do we want to live and what quality of life do we want to give our children. And they moved to this town because of that. And I'm so grateful because it really shaped who I am. And it still confuses me. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I'm still like, why am I not there? Whatever there is. But I think most of it is just FOMO and like fear of one day realizing that I lost something very big by not being there. But I think that's all coming from social media, not from real life, because when I compare the lives of the people that are living in those big towns that I thought I wanted to live in, and that I'm not saying is not amazing that they live there, like I think those cities are freaking beautiful, amazing, I think our lifestyles are not that different. Those are my thoughts. I just think this is something no one is talking about. Are you happy and do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel like you can fulfill your purpose and feel content and happy and pursue your dreams in your town? If you can pursue your dreams in your town, you're good. And I feel like I'm pursuing my dreams. And because of the beautiful internet, I can pursue them, for whatever I am. And also, the money that I'm saving on rent, I'm not saving money on rent because if I wasn't in a big city, I would be splitting a house. So maybe I would be spending the same I spend now. But like the money I save, I travel a lot more. So I get to experience big city lifestyle. Okay, that's it.